Welcome, everybody, to another episode of So What Is Your Point? I'm here with my partner and friend, Stephen Moulton, and we are talking today about how to deal with the question, tell me about yourself. This is so critical to anytime you would go on an interview or in a business situation. And we're fortunate that Steve has written a complete book on Tell Me About Yourself. And we'll talk to you a little bit about that later on how you can get the book. But now let's talk about some of the lessons from his book. And Steve, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Well, it's interesting to me. So let me ask this question. When someone asks you to tell me about yourself or what do you do, what do you say? Many people respond with, I'm I'm an accountant, an engineer, I'm a restaurant owner, I'm a solopreneur, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach. That's totally accurate, but absolutely useless. Because what happens is the listener says, okay, I can put you in this box, or I can put you in that box. I know basically what you do, but what you don't tell them, what you're not telling them is how you actually help them. And there's a lot of ways of approaching this. It's a big mistake to just say, to get that kind of response. So what should you say? Let me ask this question here. Do you want them to ask you more questions? Become engaged? Continue the conversation? You need to put some mystery in, not mystery, but clarity, maybe a little bit of mystery, into what it is you do. So the question is, what do you want to be known for? All too often, we don't really share what it is we're doing to help that individual. So first, we want to define your unique problem-solving ability. What does that mean? If you would, make a list of 10 or 12 things that you've done in your career that you're really proud of. Successes that you had, things that you've done that made a difference to someone or to an organization. Then take that list and look for something in that list that you love to do that you're really good at fixing, or you're really good at solving, or you're really good at getting done or creating. This is where your sweet spot is going to have to be.
So it's the problems that you solve for people, right, Steve?
It's the problems that you solve for people. But it's not just the problems. You might be really good at solving a problem, but you hate doing it. Early in my career, I worked for a little company out in California called Lockheed. I was really good at doing terminations of employment. I hated it, but I was really good at it. Out of the hundreds of people I had to terminate when I was in human resources, I can count on one hand the number of people that were really, truly angry when they walked out the door. But I hated doing it. So that though I was good at doing it, solving that problem for the people I served, it wasn't really a sweet spot for me. So you want the things that you really enjoy doing and that you're really good at. The next thing you want to do is start thinking about and identifying a typical problem that your target market struggles with that relates to the problem you're solving. So for instance, could be solving the problem of helping managers hire and keep really good people, or helping leaders deal with stressful situations in an effective manner. The typical problems they're solving that they have that you can solve. And then craft a couple of examples of when you solve that kind of problem for someone. And next week, I'm going to tell you how to craft that example. But you want to have some ideas on examples that you can share. And then you begin your response to the question, tell me about yourself, or what do you do? You begin it with a question. And it sounds something like this. Ever notice that many leaders just struggle with hiring and keeping really good people? And then you shut up for a minute and let them think. Because if they're a leader or they're in an organization where their leaders are struggling with hiring and keeping really good people, that struggle aspect, the key word there is struggle with hiring and keeping really good people. That evokes a sense of emotional reaction. So let's talk about what the psychology of what the person's thinking now. You want to trigger an emotional response, which is why you put the word struggle in that. Emotional response is if they're struggling with that kind of thing, or they've struggled with it in the past, they think back to those examples of people they've hired and didn't work out or whatever have you, and it was all a problem for them. That emotional thing going on through their mind, or they're thinking about a manager that they had that keeps hiring and firing people because they can't get the right people in the right places. That emotion then triggers them to come back to you thinking, this is an issue for me. Can this person be of value to me? So what's your point? The point right now is you want to understand what your unique problem solving ability is. You want to tie that to a typical problem that your target market has. And then you want to have a story that's going to support that. We'll talk about that next week. But you ask the question, ever notice that your leaders or patients or whatever else have you struggle with this problem? That begins an effective response to tell me about yourself, or what do you do?
So, Steve, I got to ask you a question that comes to my mind when you explain this process, and that is, how do you know what problem they might be experiencing that you could solve?
Not everybody's going to have the problem that you can solve.
Right, right.
Okay. So you want to focus in on a problem you can solve for the market. So let's just say you're going for a job interview, and this is a marketing job. The question might be, ever notice that a lot of marketing professionals struggle with getting the attention of potential clients? And
I suppose at that point they could say, well, yeah, we experience that a lot. Or the other option is, No, we've kind of conquered that.
Then they don't need you.
Or you could come back with a second question, right?
Or you could.
Um, what about whatever else? You could come back if you'd really done your research and you're being interviewed by a company. I suppose some of the problems that people experience are well known, and if you've done a little research on the company, you might be aware of those, right?
True. But the other thing too, if you know that this company does a lot of SEO or online lead generation, that kind of thing, you could say, ever notice that a lot of marketing professionals are either good at marketing or good at lead generation, but typically not good at both?
Okay.
That's what makes me different. I can do both.
Right.
Let me share an example. And that we'll talk about next week.
Yeah. So this is so powerful. It's going to kick off the conversation in a way that allows you to hone in on real problems that people are frustrated with and get down to kind of an emotional level, which I suppose you could say is a wonderful way to distinguish yourself from everybody else, right?
That's right. The key is you want to be different from everyone else, but you want to do it in a manner that actually relates to the individual you're talking to.
Fantastic. Hey, Steve, I know a number of people are probably wanting to know, hey, how do I find your book? What's the name of it? How do they find it? I know you'll tell them a little bit more about next week, but just in case they're really itching to get your book, where do they go?
Well, it's on Amazon, obviously, and it's a Kindle book.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I'll provide a link so we can put on the YouTube page there. They click on that link, go straight to the book.
Okay, excellent. So Amazon.com, and the name of your book is
Tell Me About Yourself.
Tell Me About Yourself. Okay. By Stephen Moulton. Obviously, excellent title. And really, I got to think that this is a book that will help a lot of people in various different ways, either finding a job or just having better conversations with people so people get your point.
Thank you, Roger.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next week. You can catch us on YouTube or you can catch us on wherever you listen to your podcasts. So what is your point? See you next time. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.